as you first arrive here, on your back, you can be however you're comfortable in terms of the leg placement. They could be bent, they could be straight. Same thing with the arms. They could go way out wide or maybe rest somewhere on the belly. And as you start to settle in here, imagine that you're laying in the sand and just notice where your body makes an imprint into the sand. So likely you'll feel certain parts of you making a deeper groove. And draw an imaginary line down the center of the body. And just check in with the right side of the body and the left side. And notice if there's any difference that you feel. And when you're ready to move, let your head start to turn a little bit, roll from side to side, like you were saying no. And then we'll let the movement of the head settle. Let's bring the right knee in towards your chest, and you can stretch the left leg long on the floor here and give on both feet the ankles a little movement. And that could be anything. You could wiggle you could circles, point flex, just whatever feels good here. And then we'll rotate the right leg so the shin comes across the body and have left hand to right foot, ankle, just really anywhere on there. And we'll take a little sort of a rock motion. So when you rock over to the right, you can bend the knee a little more. And then when you rock to the left, you could go a little straighter in the leg, but it won't go straight. It'll just go a little straighter. Yeah. So just take a couple of these back and forth. And then we'll add on a little movement in the head and the upper body. So let's take your right hand and hold the head here. And when you lift the head up with the arm, go ahead and go straighter in the leg. So you'll be able to move it a little more than you did. And then you'll come down and rebend the knee. So just take that a couple of times back and forth. And for this particular little sequence, it's not about creating a big stretch sensation. You might get that, but what we're also working with is just some mobility in different parts of the body. And I won't say too much because I want you to discover it here for yourself. Let's take one more time, this little up and down. And then we'll release the head, release the leg, lay down again, and just notice your imprint in the sand just from doing that. So from here, let's make our way up to a seated position. And we'll sit with the soles of the feet together, the knees apart. If you're familiar with Baddha Konasana, it's kind of like that, but the feet are a little further away than you normally go. And just prop the hands behind you. And we'll start with some cat-cow-like movements here. So let yourself round. You can kind of drop in. And then on the inhale, let the chest move forward. You might turn your gaze to look up. And then on the exhale, we'll re-round and come in. So that's our new pattern here. And as you're moving along with this one, we'll try a few different ways to go. So the next one, let's see if you can lead with the head on the way up, and then lead with the head on the way down. Let's do that one again. So leading with the head. And then on the next round, we'll lead with the tailbone. So let the tailbone kind of start the movement off. And if that makes no sense to you whatsoever, just imagine here there's like a little string on the tailbone and it's being drawn back, and then the rest of the spine follows along. Yeah. Now let's keep going with this with arms free. So you can let the arms, they can move any way that you like, maybe up and down, maybe forward, back, still creating the same spinal movement that we've been working on. Yeah. Great. And then a few more rounds, anything is fine. So you could keep doing this. You could put your hands back on the floor. You could put your hands on the shins. Yeah. Great. All right, let the movement settle. And then let's come into a cross-legged position with the right leg, the right shin in front. And just pause here for a second. Now we'll take both hands to the right foot, and if that doesn't work for you, just the left hand. But we'll pick the foot up, and then go a little straighter in the leg and let yourself round. The head can drop in, and then you'll put the leg back where it was, but keep holding on to it. So this is a bit similar to what you were doing laying down a second ago. Let's take a couple more rounds of that. Yeah. And then we'll keep going, but try changing the angle of the leg. So maybe one goes a little more diagonal, one round, you go the other direction. Maybe one goes more just straight ahead forward. One maybe goes up a little higher. Just try a couple different things. I should have warned you, this is kind of a weird sequence. I think Mary might have done this with me a few weeks ago, maybe Robin too. All right, friends,
I don't remember
finish
it.
up this
It's great.
last one here. And then you'll release, come back down to lay on your back again, and let's check out your imprint in the sand. Knees can be bent or straight. Take a second to drop in and draw the imaginary line down the center of the body. And notice right side versus the left side. Yeah. So a few more things on this right leg. Let's pick up the right leg again, and this time hold on with the right hand. If you can't reach the foot, you can hold on to the ankle, and that's fine. And then let the leg rotate more open so the knee points more out to the side rather than up towards your head. From here, let the whole body rock a little right and bring the knee towards the floor. It doesn't have to touch the floor. And then come back up to the center. So that's our new pattern. You could hold on with both hands if you wanted to, or just the right. Now, depending on the mobility in your hip joint, some of you might take the knee further out, and some of you might not. We don't want to create any pain in the hip joint, so do what feels easy for it to do. Yeah, okay. And then let's come back to center. Let the leg go. Take the feet wide. You can even go off your mat slightly, a little wider. And then right leg will stay put. Let's take the left knee and let it drop in towards the midline. And then back up to the center. So this is the other leg, and we're going in. So it's internal rotation. And do a couple of those. Yeah. All right, friends, so we're gonna put it all together. Let's bring the left knee back to center and go ahead, keep the knee bent. Bring the right knee in towards you, and if you can hold on with both hands, do. The leg is kind of on the diagonal here. Now, when you're ready, let the right leg go to the right, but the left knee also go to the right. So you're doing both at the same time. Yeah. And there's not an exact right or wrong here. It's really just an exploration. I'm going to add one more thing to possibly try, and it may or may not work, so we'll see. Next time you go over to the right side, pause, and maybe you can press the foot a little more into the hand so you roll all the way up to sit. And then you'll undo and roll all the way back to the floor. Yeah, so that's kind of our new pattern. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. But again, there's not an exact right or wrong. There's different strategies you could employ. So maybe you do more of a pull with the arms. That might help get you up. Maybe instead it's more of a push with the foot. That might help get you up. Yeah, maybe it's more of a momentum. So you could try around where you're going kind of fast. Yeah. So just a couple more rounds. And you'll see later when we get to the other side, I have one side that's just so easy and the other side is not at all easy. Ugh. All right, and then let's be done. So whatever happened, it's over. Return to your mat if you wandered. And then let's check out your imprint in the sand. Yeah. Draw the imaginary line down your body. Notice the right side compared to the left. Okay, friends, we've got a whole second side, and we'll do the whole progression here. So let's begin with the left leg. Just bring the knee in towards your chest, and you can stretch the right leg out for this part and just create a little movement in your feet, in your ankles. Yeah. And then we'll let the left shin cross over and hold on with your right hand. If you can't reach the foot, you could hold on just really anywhere. And then at first, we'll just do a little back and forth. So just go towards straight on the diagonal and then rebend. And for this particular part, it won't, for most of us, actually go straight. Yeah, notice if the left side is already feeling different than the right one was. Now we're going to add the head. So let's hold the head with the left hand. And when the leg goes straighter, you can lift the head, and then we'll bend and come back down. So take that a couple of times. Yeah, you guys, let's take one more round here. And then we'll let it go. And just pause, both legs bent or straight, your choice. Notice your imprint in the sand. And when you're ready to come up to sit, we'll make our way there. And we'll do the same pattern again. So take the feet together out in front of you, hands behind you at first. And we'll start to move through that spinal flexion and extension. And this time I'll really leave it up to you. We'll do a minute or so and you can try anything. So hands, no hands. You can lead with the head, you can lead with the tail. You could do around really fast, around really slow. Let's try a couple things. And then we'll settle, coming to a cross-legged with the left leg in the front. And then from here, if you can hold both hands, great. If not, just the right hand. And then we'll pick the leg up, let yourself kind of round back, and then you'll come up and let the foot come down. Keep a hold of it the whole time. Yeah. Now this one might feel good to linger for a second at the top and really press the foot into the hands and Find that rounding, that pulling apart in the shoulder blades. For some of us, that might feel really good. Yeah, a couple more of these. And then from here, let's release. Come lay down, and we just for a second, a quickie little check-in. Yeah. So we'll do a little bit of work here with the right leg. Let's take the feet just wider than the mat, just barely. And then the right knee drops in towards the midline. Just go as far as you can comfortably. And then undo, coming back to center. Oh, I skipped something. That's okay. Keep doing this. Yeah. And then the next time you're back to center, we'll pause. You can keep the right knee bent, but maybe walk the foot in a little bit. And then let's bring the left knee again and hold on either just the left hand. Let's do just the left hand here. Let the knee go out to the left and then drop towards the left. And you can let the whole body come and then come back to center. Do that a couple of times. Now here too, you can play with the angle of the knee. So you might, if you have the flexibility, it could go further out to the left, or you could take a round that's a little less far. Yeah. Then we're gonna put some of that stuff together. Let's take the right foot wide again. Both hands on the foot if you can. And then we'll rock over and let the knee drop towards the right knee, drop towards the midline. Then when you come up, go a little straighter in the left leg. Yeah. Back and forth, a couple more rounds. And then we'll see what happens. Some of you might want to try that sit up. So go to the side, roll. Oh, yeah. And then maybe you don't get it on the first try. Maybe it takes a few. I'm going to scooch over a little bit here. And, oh, yeah. So the first couple of times I did this on my right side, I could not get up at all. Like it wasn't even close. But I practiced it a little bit and it got a lot better. And what's less important than getting it is the movement and the just the channels that are opening up through the body. The final product is less important than the journey along the way. All right, friends. So, now I'm stuck. Next time you come back down, that's that for this little sequence. Let's reset yourself back onto your back, legs bent or straight. And just one more little check-in here. Notice how you meet the floor, your imprint, the right side and the left side. And then from here, we'll bring the knees in towards your chest. Just give yourself a little squeeze. Any last little movement is fine here on your back. Maybe you stir the legs around, maybe make a little circle. Yeah, when you're ready to come off your back, we'll meet in hands and knees position. So take your time to get there. And then we've already done a bunch of cat-cows in different ways, but now we'll go classic here. So hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, breathe in. And as you exhale, round the back, drop the head, drop the tail. Inhale, come the other direction. So move the chest forward, lifting the head and the tail. And take that a couple more times, back and forth. And we'll add on just a little element here. Every time you round, give a little extra push into the floor, like you're pressing into something, and then let it go a little bit when you unravel. So it's a push as we round, and then release a little bit to come the other way. Yeah, you guys. All right, from here, next time you round up into cat pose, we'll go to child's pose, and it's totally fine if you widen the knees a bit. Feel free to do that. Stay here, and without moving your hands, try to press the mat forward. And that should let the hips draw back and down. You can add in a little tail wag, a little side to side if you like that. And then let's reset, coming back to our all fours position. Take the knees so they're not quite so wide. And then we'll pick up the right leg with the knee bent, start to draw a circle. And as you're doing this, try to go without letting the pelvis swing about. Yeah, so try to keep the pelvis relatively still as the right leg is taking the circle. And then we'll pause the next time the knee is out to the right side. Pay attention to the left outer hip. And at the very top of the thigh, can you draw in towards the midline? And that should engage the low belly a little when you do that, as well as the outer thigh. To add on here, if you wish, you could pick up the left arm. Any arm variation is fine. Yeah. And then down comes the arm, down comes the leg. Take a quickie child's pose, maybe with the toes tucked under if you like that position. Let's go in the hands spider finger. So you'll perch up onto the fingertips just for a sec. And then we'll set the hands down, return to your all fours, broaden the collarbones, and then lift a little bit through the belly, engage the core here. Let's take the left knee up and make some circles. Try not to let the pelvis swing around. Let it stay pretty still. And then we'll pause next time the left knee goes left and take your attention to the top of the right thigh and let the outer hip, the outer thigh come in towards the midline. And at the same time, you should feel little engagement right here through the low belly. Right arm can lift, it doesn't have to. Yeah. I don't know what we call this. It's kind of a skydiver position. Let's put the hand and the knee down. Go back to child's pose with the toes tucked under and just take a quickie spider fingers again in your hands. Yeah, to get out of this, we'll place the hands on the floor. Come up into downward facing dog. And it might feel nice. This is our first down dog of this class. You can move a little bit. You can pedal the legs. You can shift the hips. You can move your spine. Yeah, whatever feels good. And then from your position, let's go wide in your feet. Bend the knees, walk your hands to the feet, heading to the back of your mat, and just prop yourself up so the forearms are on the thighs. At the inner thighs, can you move back? At the chest, can you move forward? So we elongate through the torso. Then from this position, let's twist. Open up to the right. You can lift the arm if that feels good. You can circle the wrist if that feels good. Down comes the arm. Let's go the other direction. Open up to the left and create some little circles in there. Yeah, you guys, release the arm, press into the feet. Inhale all the way up, we stand. Arms lift overhead. Exhale the arms down just alongside you. And let's narrow your stance slightly. Feet just right underneath you. Soften the knees a bit and then take the hips around in a circle for hula hoop asana. Yes. Great, other direction. Other way we go. Okay, friends. Now from here, for the next sequence, we'll be doing lunge with a knee down. So if anyone needs padding for the knee, you can arrange that. If you need blocks for your hands, just put them at the front of your mat. And we'll take a little sequence here. So come to the front of the mat. Feet can be together a little apart, your choice. Bend your knees, bring the hips back, take the hands into prayer. And then in this position, can you shift the weight more into the heels, less into the toes? You could even lift the toes if that works for you. And without shifting forward, if the toes came up, set them back down. Inhale, arms up overhead, legs straighten. Exhale, back to prayer, hands back to chair. Do that a couple of times. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. We'll stay in the down position. Hands come to the shins. Inhale, just come up halfway, move the chest forward and straighten out the legs. On the exhale, bend the knees and let the back round if that feels okay. Do it a couple more times. So inhale, we lengthen. Exhale, we round and bend. Inhale, we lengthen. And exhale down. If you're using blocks, grab them. Let's step the right leg back and bring the knee down on the floor. You can keep the toes tucked or put the toes flat, whatever you want. Now for this version of the pose, let's take the left foot wider and bring the arms to the inside of the left leg. And we'll let the hips take a little circle around. Yeah, like you're stirring a giant cauldron, except it's you. Go the other direction. I love Halloween. I'll tell you later. I have some plans already set up. Okay, let's pause here. And now keeping the left foot wide, breathe in. On the exhale, bring the hips back, go straight in the leg, and maybe rise up onto the heel. Inhale, rebend and shift forward. So take that a couple of more times. If going up onto the heel doesn't feel good, you just keep the sole of the foot down. All right, yogis. Next time you're forward, we'll stay. Angle the left leg slightly so the toes might even go off the mat. And take the, I'm gonna come off my blocks here, take the left hand to the inner thigh and don't press back that way, but press out in the direction that the knee is pointing, yeah? And that'll help you kind of create a little more room through the chest. Now as you're pressing the leg, press the leg back into the hand slightly. And on your back leg, the right leg, pretend it's glued to the floor, but you're trying to pull it to the left or towards the midline, and that should engage the inner thigh a little bit. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll back off. Let's undo. If you're still on the blocks, get rid of them. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then we'll go into downward facing dog from there. Take any kind of movement, any sort of shift, pedal in the legs, whatever feels good. And then we'll come forward and down onto the belly. Just make your way there. You get there when you get there. All right, hands will stay where they are beside the lower ribs. Scoot your legs back and down so you have some more room through the front of the legs. Toenails on the floor. Lift the shoulders away from the floor. And in doing so, we want to keep the collarbones broad, the upper back engaged without going anywhere. Your hands are glued. Try to pull hands to the feet and the chest forward to engage the upper back even more, and then lower yourself down a little bit. Do that a couple more times. Now, for some of us, we end up overdoing and then the lower back starts to take over. If that happens, go up less and think more forward with the chest, back with the arms rather than going up towards the ceiling. Yeah, let's hold. Last time you're in this engaged position, if you're feeling good in the lower back and you want to lift the legs, go ahead and add that in. It's a variation of Shalabhasana. Yeah, all right, put the legs down. Let's go back to child's pose for a second. Keep the arms forward and then walk both hands a bit over to the right so you get a little side body stretch. And then we'll do both hands a little bit to the left, other side. Oh, that one feels good to me. From here, friends, we're back in the center. Let's head up into our downward facing dog. And this time, once you're in the position, bend the knees a little bit. Hands are glued to the floor, but you're trying to press them forward. And then at the very tops of the thigh bones, right at the hip crease, can you move that part of the leg back, like a diagonal line between your wrists and the hip creases? Keep that diagonal line. Don't let it break as the legs start to go straighter. If you're really tight in the hamstrings, sometimes we go straight and then we end up shifting forward. So if that's the case for you, I would advise keeping the knees bent at least for a while. Yeah. To get out of this, we'll come forward, feet to the hands. We'll meet in a forward fold. And from there, slide the hands up to your shins. Inhale, we'll move the chest forward, straighten out the legs. Exhale, bend the knees and let your body round. Do that a few more times back and forth. All right, friends, next time you come down, we're bringing the left leg back. Maybe you're on your blocks. Yes, this is the second side. And then you can either have the toes tucked under or flat. Widen the right foot a little bit and bring the arms to the inside of the right leg. Let's start with our circles. Just draw a little circle like either as a crayon in your navel, and you could draw a circle on the floor. And then go the other direction. This class is all about the hips, isn't it? All right, we'll keep the arms to the inside of the leg. Breathe in. On the exhale, shift the hips back, maybe go up onto the heel, maybe not. And on the inhale, come forward. Yeah, I was moving my blocks just so you could see the foot. You don't have to, if you need to move the arms forward and back, you can. If you're good to keep them in one spot, do that. Yeah. All right. Last one here, we'll pause with the front knee bent. I'm gonna come off my blocks here. You can or you don't have to. Angle the right leg a little more out so that the toes, they're maybe like 2 o'clock, 1:30. And then take the right hand to the inside of the right leg and don't press out to the right side, but kind of on the diagonal in the line of the knee. Resist that by pressing the leg into the hand. And now on the back leg, the left leg, try to draw the leg towards the right. It's not gonna go, but hopefully doing that will engage the inner thigh. Yeah. Okay, and then to get out of this, let's undo, reset, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then go into your downward facing dog from there. Take a little pedal with the legs, you can shift the hips, you can move your head. And then after those, let's take another squat position. Take the feet wide, bend the knees, walk your hands to the legs, and come up with forearms to the thighs. So we're at the back of the mat. At the very tops of the thighs, press apart, away from the midline. When you do that, you might see the knees widen. Then let's counter that action in your feet. Try to pull the ankles towards one another like there is a giant rubber band in between them. And when we press out at the top and hug in at the bottom, hopefully that'll make the knees align straight ahead. Yeah, it'll also create a little stability through the pelvis and the lower back. Let's back off a bit, press into the feet. Inhale, up we come, lift. Exhale, release the arms. Step the feet just underneath you. Take another hula hoop here. Yeah, you guys go the other direction. It's like a yoga dance party. Okay, so for our next position, we'll stand in the middle of your mat. We're gonna take a wide forward fold. If you know you want blocks for your hands, just set them up like this. I'm gonna scooch back a little bit. I think it's the better, yeah. All right, so take your feet out wide. And before we go anywhere, look at your feet. Sometimes one ends up ahead of the other, but make sure they're on the same line and that the toes are pointing straight forward. We'll take a little bit of a bend in the knees, and as we hinge, we want the hinge to be from the hip crease, not by rounding the back, so the back stays neutral. Let's come forward and down, landing your hands, blocks, fingertips, or flat hands. Wherever you are is fine. And then with the knees still a little bent, like we did in some of the other poses, at the very tops of the thighs, press apart. Counter that in your feet. Try to pull the ankles closer together. So we've got pressing out at the top, pulling in at the bottom. And then from there, let the legs go any amount straighter. You got it, friends. Now, let's do this one for today. Keep the legs and the hips in place. Walk the arms forward like you're doing down dog in the upper body. And if you can go on fingertips, do. If that's a lot for you and you're on blocks, you could take the block or blocks with so that you have a little more height. Yeah. So here we are. Can you lengthen the side body really, really long? And then we'll back off from max capacity. So come in a little bit, but not all the way. Walk both arms towards your right foot. And how far you go doesn't matter. Then the left knee. Let the pelvis shift back towards the wall behind you. Yeah. and then undo. Walk both hands towards the left, doesn't have to be far. Bend the right knee and let the pelvis shift back. Yeah, inner thigh. Are you guys getting that? Okay, back to center, back to center. Let's a little bit come in with the feet, not all the way, just a little bit. Bend the knees again, and at the tops of the thighs, press out, hands to the hips, engage your core, come up with a flat back. Yeah, nice transition, you guys. I saw that. Excellent work. Bring yourself back together, feet right underneath you, and just take a little wiggle for a second. Yeah. And I'm just gonna look real quick. Robin, do you have blocks? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Okay, great, because I know Drew, you have blocks too, don't you? Okay, so this one doesn't work without blocks, so I wanna show. Let's set up your blocks at the front of the mat. Before we do the exercise, I wanna show you something with the foot. And Mary, you just be careful with the ankle. This is not the shape you'll do, but I want you to look at my foot and ankle. So when we take the next position, we want the ankle to be aligned like this and not like this. So this is yes, and this is no.
No
so
sickling.
When we go into the position, yeah, no sickling the foot. It'll be tempting to kind of want to roll the foot this way, but I just want to clarify before we go that the foot stays like this, yeah? Okay, so from your position, also just watch for a second. You'll set up, you'll start, it's kind of like plank on the blocks. Blocks are on the medium height. We'll start with the right foot. It'll step just behind the left block, and I'm on the pinky side of the foot in that foot position that I just showed. And we'll take a little transition here. You'll bend the knee, lift the chest, and then you'll go straighter in the leg and take and fold over. So it's a little bit similar to some of those movements we were doing in the beginning of class. Make sense? Yes, okay, so I'll talk you through it. Go ahead and set up your blocks. Medium height, shoulders width apart, hands on the blocks. Back to plank we go. Step the right foot behind the left block. It's like yoga twister. And you're on the pinky side of the foot, but at no point do you roll towards the top of the foot. Yeah? All right, from here, let's do this with breath. On the inhale, bend the right knee deeper, let the chest come forward and lift. And then on the exhale, the leg goes straighter and you'll fold over. So take that a couple of times. And the whole time here, just pay attention to what your foot is doing. Even though it won't touch the floor for part of it, think of reaching out through the inner edge of the foot, inner heel and ball of the big toe. Yeah. And that's important for the health of the knee and the hip joint, is keeping the foot and ankle like that. All right, friends, we're going to pause. Next time the hips are high and the front leg is your version of straight, pause there. If you need to set your blocks higher, you might. Now, the inner foot might not touch the floor, but reach it towards the floor. Think about your pelvis. Pretend there is a bungee cord and it's being pulled towards the back of the mat. You've got another bungee cord at the chest and it's being pulled towards the front of the mat. So we've got this pulling going on forward in the chest, back with the pelvis. Yeah. And you might get a nice juicy stretch on the IT band or the hamstring or really anywhere on this right side. Now for the next bit, if you went high on the blocks, let's put them back to the medium height. And you'll start to bend the knee out to the side. Pay attention to what your foot is doing. Now at this point, we'll let the shin come down, the foot will come in, and then you can go ahead and let the foot relax. It doesn't have to come into that position we were practicing. We're heading into a pigeon variation. Now, option to just stay up like this, totally fine. If you're coming down, I would scooch the back leg a little further back, pretend the knees were magnetic and pull them towards each other on the diagonal. Yeah. Then you can come down either on the elbows, or maybe you don't need the blocks. You could come down maybe like this. Maybe you put a block under your forehead. Yeah. So there's a couple different versions of this. And once we've come down, I just want to say it again, you don't have to fool with the ankle here, just let it relax. Whatever variation you've taken, you could do a little shift side to side. That might be interesting. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because it's hot in here or the sequence. I'm like sweating bullets. Yeah. The hips, there's like smoke on the sides. All right, guys, to get out of this, let's move the blocks. Hands come back to the floor. Adjust the back leg, scooch it a little forward, tuck the toes under, and then let's go back to downward facing dog. And just take a second. Movement, stillness, your choice, whatever you need. Oh, yeah. Okay, we ready for side two? Let's try it out. So you'll set up your blocks. We'll start medium height, shoulders width apart, and then plank on the blocks just to get there. Left foot steps behind the right block, and you're on the pinky side of the foot. Don't let your foot roll to the top of the foot. On the inhale, we'll bend the knee, move the chest forward and up. And then on the exhale, go straighter in the leg and try to press the inner foot towards the floor, even if it doesn't get all the way there. So back and forth we go. I should have said this on the first side. If this is too much on the blocks, you guys who I can see look okay. You could do it with the hands on the wall and just don't go down as low. That's another option. All right, next time the front leg is straight, let's pause. If you feel like you need to go higher, you could set the blocks up higher. The foot may or may not touch the floor, but press the inner heel and the ball of the big toe towards the floor, downward. You've got a bungee cord on the pelvis that's pulling back, another one in the chest that's pulling forward. Create, some length there, yeah. And breathe. Robin, we used to do this one all the time. It's been a while. All right, now we'll head to the next one. If the blocks came up, let's set them back down. You'll start to bend the knee, keep the foot in the position we talked about. And then as eventually you come down, shin comes to the floor, the foot will scooch in a little closer, and then go ahead and relax the ankle. You can stretch the right leg back. Pretend the knees were magnetic and let them pull towards each other on the diagonal. Lift the low belly. Coming forward to come down, options, you could rest the elbows on blocks. You could come down to the floor. Maybe if you're low, you put a block under the forehead. If you're really low, you'll have kind of the chest on the floor, but I think most of us are not there for today. Whatever spot you've ended up in, it might feel nice to add a little movement. Feel free to do that. Okay, friends. And then to head out of this one, let's reset your hands. Scooch the back leg in a little bit, tuck the toes under, and then we'll go back to down dog and just do whatever you want there for a second. Any movement is fine. Stillness is fine. Yeah. You might feel good to lift a leg. Take whatever you want. All right, and then let's come down to child's pose and let the forehead rest either on the floor or on stacked arms. You put it on a block, or you could bend the elbows and prop up the head in your hands. Any way that the forehead can rest. And then from here, friends, we'll undo. Let's turn around and we'll come to lay down on your back. And you might want your blocks, let's just have them handy. Yeah. And then at first when you, my hair thing was in the way. Let's let the knees do a little side to side, little windshield wiper. Yeah. And then we'll pause. Take the feet so they're not quite as wide. Bring the right foot, let it come underneath so the foot ends up in between the left buttock and the left foot. The right foot just sneaks under there. Now, for some of you, the knee will go all the way to the floor. For most of us, it'll hover a little, and that's fine. If it feels a little unstable, here's where you could put a block under it. Yeah? So you decide what the right leg wants to do. Then when you're ready, we'll pick up the left leg and bring it in towards you. And even though we're holding the left leg, it's the right one here that's getting the stretch. And you might feel that anywhere along the inner groin. You might feel it kind of the hip crease. You might even feel it on the side, on the outside. So there's a couple of different possibilities there. Yeah, so when you're ready to get out, we'll undo the left and then undo the right, and we'll reset. So scoop the left foot underneath, somewhere in between the right foot and the right buttock, knee towards the floor, maybe it touches, maybe it doesn't, and then the right leg can come in, doesn't have to. Options are to prop the bottom thigh if you need, or to not pull the right knee in. If it's plenty, just having the foot on the floor, do that version. Yeah. And then one last little thing here before Shavasana. Let's undo. Come back to center. Give the hands a little press into the thighs, into the hip creases. I'm going to show a couple variations for a supported bridge. So one option is to take the two blocks and kind of wedge them on the diagonal. You'll lift the hips and you'll slide so the blocks end up supporting kind of the side of the butt cheeks, and there's a gap in the middle, and you're pretty close to the floor. You're like an inch away from the floor. And this one's kind of nice. If you want more of a lift, you could do one block like this on the low height, like this on the medium height. You could go high. For me, one block doesn't feel good high, so I like two. You could do 2 blocks high and the hips supported. So anything like that is fine. Or if you don't like this one, just skip it. We'll do Shavasana next. And then if you are up here on the blocks, let's lift the hips to pull the blocks out. Bring yourself back down. If you need a little wiggle or any kind of movement before Shavasana, maybe a twist, that might feel good. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll come on into Shavasana, possibly with some support under the legs. That sometimes feels good. And allow your body to settle. Let the work be done. Notice your final imprint in the sand. And see if it feels any different than it did at the very beginning. And bring your awareness back to your body. And start to take any kind of movement. Something small, maybe the fingers, the toes, maybe your head. Whenever you're ready, let your knees bend, roll over on the one side. We'll meet sitting with hands at heart center. Thank your own body for everything that it's able to do. And thank yourself for being here. Namaste.